Facility that will manufacture one of the world's fastest supersonic cruise missiles with a range of over 290 to 400 kilometers with a top speed of Mach 2.8. And this is also, as far as the Raksha Mantri is concerned, who will be inaugurating the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile production that is now part of the UP Defence Industrial Corridor as well. Lieutenant General Asit Mistry is connected with us. Good afternoon to you. Suresh Kumar Goel, who is a former diplomat, is also connected with us. Brahma Chelani is also with us, a strategic affairs expert. Mr. Chelani, as we are speaking of the current situation, what India has been saying, and according to latest statement that is also coming from the Indian Air Force's side, that Operation Sindoor is still ongoing. On the sidelines, we're looking at the BrahMos production unit coming up in Uttar Pradesh. What does it mean when it comes to boosting our defense infrastructure, sir?
Boosting defense infrastructure is inevitably a long process, a process that will take years for any system to be developed and deployed. The BrahMos, of course, is already a developed and deployed system. It's a lethal system. But India is also seeking to build its capabilities, a number of other fields. In fact, since the standoff with China began in 2020, India has tested a range of cutting-edge missiles, including a anti-radiation missile, a MIRV missile, a missile that can carry multiple warheads, for example. So India has, in recent years, demonstrated the capability to build increasingly sophisticated missile systems. That goes to show that that India's defense development process is gathering momentum. But I think the inconclusive Operation Sindoor raises some fundamental questions because it has an international fallout. If you see what President Trump is now saying, what he has posted on Truth Social, or the statements of some other Western leaders, it's drawing or redrawing international attention to the Kashmir dispute, not to Pakistan's cross-border terrorism, the core issue which triggered the present crisis. This is very unfortunate. The world is not acknowledging the core issue, the cross-border terrorism of Pakistan. Instead, you can see the international media, you can see the statements of Trump, for example. He wants to play the role of a broker, a mediator in the Kashmir dispute. So the whole thing has been turned from what was Pakistan's involvement in the Pahalgam massacre, its proxy warfare through the use of terrorist proxies for nearly 4 decades, that has been turned into the Kashmir dispute being the root cause of India-Pakistan tensions. How do we rebut this international narrative? We need to debate this point.
Well, that does become the talking point. Lieutenant General Asit Mistry, if you can also, talk about your thoughts on this, because right now as we focus on, this self-sufficiency and Atmanirbharta that India is now making itself, it becomes key in times like these. As we are speaking of a position that India finds itself in, and when there is crisis, when there are adversaries, you know who are your friends, who know who are not your friends. Does it make India's position clear, sir? Just getting you a small comment before we play out what the Chief Minister has said. Yes, sir.
Yes, we need to develop our self-sufficiency, and in this process we have...
इस मिसाइल के पराक्रम की एक झलक देखी होगी, और नहीं देखी होगी तो कम से कम पाकिस्तान वालों से पूछ लेना चाहिए कि ब्रह्मोस मिसाइल की ताकत क्या है। ब्रह्मोस मिसाइल क्या होती है? अभी आपने ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के अंदर इस मिसाइल के पराक्रम की एक झलक देखी होगी, और नहीं देखी होगी तो कम से कम पाकिस्तान वालों से पूछ लेना चाहिए कि ब्रह्मोस मिसाइल की ताकत क्या है।
Lieutenant General, sir, apologies, sir. We just play out the reaction that came in from the Chief Minister. Please complete your point, sir.
See, there is no gainsaying about the imperative of creating adequate self-sufficiency and adequate operational capabilities to ensure the security environment that we wish for. But we must be mindful that our primary rival or competitor is China. And that should not be lost sight of. And therefore, we need to keep building up the capability. Towards this end, we need adequate allocation of defense budget. With the current meager, allotment of about 1.5% of GDP is not going to be sufficient. And our procedures also need to be changed so that our procurement and manufacturing all is hastened up.
Well, that's a good point that you have made, sir. But now on a diplomatic situation, Mr. Goel, how do you see? Because every time India took action, it promptly informed the nations that why India has been forced to take these retaliatory and measured steps. India said that this is not war that India is seeking, but it became all the more important to respond, to retaliate against Pakistan's misadventures, sir.
Let me take you back to 90s and the early part of this millennium. And I want to do that basically because we live in a world where we think that our friendships, our connections, our relationship matrix depends upon the real relations between the leaders or the ideologies, etc., etc. But if you look at the history of relations between nations, they have always depended upon the kind of objective interests, needs, and how you can leverage your own strengths, your assets in developing those into a kind of stable relationship where you can build a dependency. The only one time, to my recollection, when India was able to tell the world and the world listened to it, that the issue with Pakistan is not that of Kashmir, but the issue with Pakistan is in terms of really becoming a challenge to the